Episode 113. But at this moment, Feng Yu was also deeply wary and puzzled by Han Li producing one top-tier magic tool after another. He guessed that Han Li, like that treasure girl, was the descendant of some powerful figure, and so his desire to kill Han Li grew even more urgent.
If he gets out of here alive, he'll be a problem for us down the line. And he saw the whole thing, me killing that girl and taking her treasures. If her elders come looking, I'll be in deep trouble.
Just as Feng Yu was captivated by Han Li's azure serpent banner, his killing intent surging, the few mixed origin pearls finally flew to his front and struck the defense propped up by his yellow silk umbrella. With a few sharp, crisp clinks, the first few were easily deflected away.
Feng Yu heard the sound and instinctively glanced down. "Huh, you think you can attack me with these mixed UN pearls? How laughably overconfident. Forget them even, huh? This one's so small, and it's blue."
Feng Yu had just finished mocking them when she noticed a primordial chaos pearl being deflected, revealing a blue bead hidden behind it. It was no larger than a meatball, far smaller than a typical primordial chaos pearl. Feng Yu was caught off guard for a split second. Before any other thought could form, the blue pearl had already made contact with the spherical barrier. A light, a dazzling, blinding white light. This was the final color Feng Yu would ever see in this world. Then, a wave of warmth washed over him, and he knew nothing more. From Han Li's perspective, the blue orb, upon touching the yellow light, instantly erupted into a silver-white sphere about 10 feet across. It silently enveloped the greater part of Feng Yu's body. A moment later, the white light vanished without a trace, revealing Feng Yu's astonished face. She seemed completely unharmed. At that moment, a gentle breeze swept through. Feng Yu's body, caught in the wind, suddenly crumbled like grains of sand, dissolving into drifting ash. All that remained were 2 severed calves and a pair of boots, standing alone on the ground. It was an indescribably bizarre sight. Seeing this, Han Li wasn't afraid. Instead, he plopped down onto the ground and let out a deep, relieved sigh. Relaxed, the heart that had been in his throat finally settled back down. After deploying his ultimate trump card, the Heaven Thunder Bead, and a series of deceptive maneuvers, he had finally erased Feng Yue from this world. Yet Han Li's face showed little joy. Instead, it was a mask of self-mockery and bitter amusement. No wonder he couldn't muster any joy. It was only the second day of the Forbidden Land expedition, and he'd already exhausted all his magic treasures, even using up his final trump card. The thought of the 3 days ahead, and the unknown number of powerful foes like Feng Yue he might yet face, made Han Li's heart, which had just begun to lighten, grow heavy once more.
If I hadn't used that Heaven Start Thunderclap bomb this time, I'd have been a goner for sure. That flying sky shield is about to give out any second now, and once I finish this guy off, his top-tier magic tool, plus that multi-treasure girls, I'm not just breaking even, I'm coming out way ahead.
With that thought, Han Li's spirits lifted, and he quickly looked back across the way. But when he looked, Han Li's jaw dropped, and he was left speechless for a long moment. For where Feng Yu had been standing, there was nothing on the ground except for those booted calves. As for the prize Han Li had been eyeing, the storage pouch, it was nowhere to be seen. Han Li sprang to his feet in a flash, then shot over there like his pants were on fire. He searched the spot where Feng Yu had vanished for a long time, but the storage pouch was nowhere to be found.
Could the Sky Thunderbolt's power really be so immense that it reduced both the man and his storage pouch to ashes?
After circling this tiny patch of ground several times, Han Li finally arrived at this conclusion. Han Li expanded his search area several times over, unwilling to give up, but the result was the same. He did, however, manage to pick up the Duabao girl's small mirror and crystal ball, as well as the talisman treasure in the form of a small knife which had reverted to its gourd shape now that its master was dead. Han Li looked at the three items, then thought about the lost heavenly thunder beads, the two high-grade magic tools, the silver hook and the green lock, and the storage pouch destroyed by the heavenly thunder beads. He could only stare up at the sky in silence.
All things considered, I came out on top after that big fight. That's a hell of a lot better than Feng Yue, who got himself turned to ash.
At the thought of Feng Yue, Han Li instinctively glanced at the only thing the man had left in this world. He gave a slight shake of his head at the sight of the two half-legs severed at the knee. Then, with a flick of his wrist, he released two fist-sized fireballs that shot straight toward them.
Since the people are already dead, we should destroy this thing completely. It'll save us the trouble if someone else finds it.
With two soft pops, the flames instantly engulfed them. In the blink of an eye, everything but those pitch-black boots had turned to ash. Han Li gave a satisfied nod and turned to leave.
Boots? Wait, how could ordinary boots survive a fireball technique unscathed?
Han Li had only taken a single step when he realized his mistake. He immediately turned back, staring at the seemingly ordinary boots. Upon closer inspection, something unusual did stand out. Not only did the boots remain undamaged by the fireball attack, they didn't even show a single scorch mark. In fact, they faintly emitted a subtle spiritual glow.
A magic tool?
He hesitated for a moment, then walked over and picked up the black boots.
Thin, soft, but quite resilient. It's probably not cloth or silk. It seems to be a pair of leather boots made from some kind of animal hide.
As he drew closer, the faint spiritual qi emanating from the boots became increasingly apparent to Han Li.
This is definitely a magic tool, and it's most likely made from the hide of some kind of demonic beast.
Looking at the leather boots, Han Li had a vague inkling. He couldn't wait to kick off his cloth shoes and slip on this pair of magic tool boots. It was incredibly comfortable, soft, and felt like wearing nothing at all. That was Han Li's first impression upon putting on these boots. He examined the boots on his feet for a moment, but nothing unusual happened yet. Han Li frowned slightly and took a small step forward. In a flash, his figure blurred and he drifted lightly to a spot over 10 feet away.
The wind-riding art? No, this is much faster than that.
The secret behind the wind and moon movement technique's incredible speed was finally revealed to Han Li. That must be how the bastard moved so erratically, fast as lightning. Wearing the boots, Han Li began to walk slowly around the small clearing, gradually familiarizing himself with their properties. He picked up speed, moving faster and faster, until finally he activated the smoke-shifting steps to accelerate. If Han Li's previous movement technique at its peak could blur his figure and even leave afterimages, then with these boots, his speed had reached a point where several identical phantoms would faintly appear in the arena, all moving in unison, all wearing the same faint smile. But as all the phantoms gradually converged toward the center, they merged back into a single Han Li standing in the middle of the arena. Han Li stood there motionless, as if deep in thought. Then, he suddenly burst into a fit of wild laughter, laughing so hard his body doubled over and tears nearly streamed from his eyes. After shouting for a good long while, Han Li, who was still bent over, flashed with a cyan light. Whooshing, he suddenly transformed into a gust of wind and vanished into thin air. Now, the entire clearing was deathly still, save for the rustle of wind across the ground. A thunderous series of booms suddenly erupted. Nearby trees began to split apart one after another, right down the middle. The breaks were unnaturally clean and smooth, like polished mirrors, yet there was clearly no one around. The trees were sheared apart at an ever-increasing rate. In moments, every trunk within 100 yards had been reduced to nothing but bare stumps. Han Li, still wreathed in a faint cyan glow, finally reappeared, his face slick with sweat. Yet he couldn't suppress the sheer delight spreading across his features.
With the smoke-shifting steps, my magic tool boots, and the wind-riding technique all combined, I can move so fast I vanish from ordinary sight, like I've turned invisible. Even with a cultivator's enhanced vision and the boost from the Heaven's Eye technique, when I go all out, I'm just a faint blur in their sight. That makes me a massive threat before they can even raise a defensive spell.
Now, with just a thought, Han Li could instantly cross several yards. Even a distance of over a dozen yards was a mere breath away for him. Of course, Han Li could only maintain this speed, which pushed his body beyond its limits for a few fleeting moments. Any longer, and he would have completely broken down. After all, pushing his body to move at such speeds was still a bit too much for Han Li. But for him, that sliver of time was more than enough to kill his opponent dozens of times over. Especially when using a thread-type magic tool, its power is effectively doubled. Han Li lowered his head, gently stroking the leather boots on his feet for a good long while.
These boots are perfect for me. I wouldn't even consider trading them for a talisman treasure.
With his confidence restored, Han Li looked around excitedly. When his gaze fell on the corpse of the woman from Yellow Mountain, he let out a soft sigh. He then used a small fireball to blast out a shallow pit and gave her a rather crude makeshift burial right there on the spot. This was the absolute limit of what Han Li felt he could do. With that done, Han Li's figure flickered and vanished into the dense forest. He needed to hurry to the central area now. What Han Li didn't know, however, was that after the first day of slaughter, the number of disciples from all sects remaining in the Forbidden Zone had dwindled to just over 70. That was nearly half the number who had first entered. Meanwhile, the elite disciples from each sect had mostly reached the vicinity of the central zone, ready to begin the second day's cleansing, lying in wait for their prey. All those they deemed weak would be mercilessly eliminated, one by one. Of course, the now deceased duo Bao Nu and the Heavenly Void sect's Feng Yue, who was killed by Han Li, had originally been among the default hunters, but now that they were dead, all that was naturally swept away. In a depression to the west of the central zone where rare herbs grew, 3 cultivators were locked in a desperate struggle with a 3-eyed firewolf. A middle-aged man in giant sword sect attire wielded a massive azure blade, blocking the majority of the firewolf's attacks. Meanwhile, an old man from Yellow Mountain and a youth in gray Taoist robes flanked the beast, launching coordinated assaults from the left and right. Not long after, the giant sword sect disciple, after taking a massive fireball head-on, cleaved the beast's head from its shoulders. He recalled his giant sword and threw his head back in triumphant laughter.
Ah, brother, your magic power is truly profound. To fell a 3-eyed firewolf with a single strike, you are indeed a worthy disciple of the giant sword sect.
Seeing this, the old man from Yellow Mountain immediately scurried over, a torrent of fawning, sycophantic words pouring from his lips without a hint of shame on his face. If Han Li were here, he'd recognize this old man as Shangji Li, the one who had once tried so hard to recruit him into that so-called weaklings alliance. However, the young sect brother who had been with Shangji Li back then wasn't present now. It seemed they'd gotten separated during the teleportation.